This is the inside of the 2021 Auto Sleeper Nuevo Ek MQ edition. If I firstly move to the main control panel, I can turn the 12 volts on just here. Along the top we have the external temperature. We also have this lightning strike just here, just letting us know that we're connected to main supply. We have the humidity in the center and the internal temperature on the right hand side. And then in the middle we have the time and the date. If I now press here, we have water pump on and off. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. This one here will give us a level reading on the freshwater tank and the waste tank. And then this one here will give us power levels. So condition of the leisure battery, condition of the vehicle battery, how many amps we're either using or have coming in, just depending, and the mains current just here. And if we had a solar panel connected, it would also give us the ampage reading that this was putting in as well. Next we have the main isolator for the majority of the onboard lights, and then they can all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. We then have awning light on and off just here, and this will also do the light above the entrance door. Battery selection just here, so L for leisure, V for vehicle. Whichever battery you've selected on this control panel is the battery you are charging when you are hooked up to mains electricity. And then lastly we have the settings menu. So in here we have active batteries either from the main supply or from the solar panel, etc. As you can see, they're all set in smart mode, which is the easiest way to leave them. They will then just charge automatically, and then after a given amount of time they will then switch over. Automatic tank fill just here. This needs to be on if you're going to be using the whale filler hose on the outside. It just makes the solenoid live that will allow water into the van. And then we have fresh and waste tank heaters. Next we have lights that will come on when we turn the control panel on. At the moment you'll see they're all in the off setting. You can select whatever you would prefer. Key beeps on and off. Water level alarms on and off for both the fresh and waste tank. The backlight brightness of this screen and how quickly it times out when it's not being touched. And then set the time and date. And then we come back to the beginning again. Beside this control panel, we then have the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water system. So if I now press the button to turn it on initial startup, it will give you the time, and it will also let you know if you're connected to mains electricity. If I now press the button, we'll get a series of icons, and as I rotate the button, they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first one just here, this one is for the heating or the air conditioning, and if I now press it, you'll see it comes up heater, and then if I rotate it will go to AC. If I start with heater, just click on it and then just rotate and select whatever temperature you would like it to be inside the motorhome, and it will go right the way up to 30 degrees. Once you've decided, just click to store it in, and you'll now see a little flames appeared above. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, that flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. If we now turn the heater back off again, we can then go into air conditioning, and again just click on it As you can see, it's off. We can either use the air conditioning in vent mode, cool mode, hot mode, auto mode. So just depending on what you want. So let's say we want cool, click on it, select the temperature you would like it, and then just click to store it in. Right at the end here we have the fan speed for the air conditioning or for the heating, just depending. Control the airflow on here and in the center. If you put it into auto mode and then select the temperature, it will then maintain that temperature. If we now move to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water. Again, if I now click on it, hot water is off. And again, all we now do is rotate and we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a water temperature of about 40 degrees. We can heat it in hot, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water extremely quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off as it needs to use the extra power. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. After heating and air conditioning and hot water, we then have power source. So at the moment I am using mains electricity at 2 kilowatts. If I lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt, which is extremely handy if you're on a low amp site, if you have both power sources available to you, you can run in dual fuel, so a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts, or a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt. These settings here are extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly, and it will only use the gas as it's required. And then lastly, if we do not have any main supply, we can just run the heating or hot water system on gas. Next, we have the circulation fan. If I now turn off hot water as well as being the fan for the air conditioning or the heating, without anything on, it can also be used just to vent the motorhome as well. If we now drop to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer, so just literally click on it, set a start time and then an end time, and then pick what you would like on. Lastly, timer on or off. If you activate the timer, it will come up in the corner there, and now within that time period those settings would apply. If I now return to it, I can now turn the timer back off again, and when we go back in, we can then alter it again. Next, we have a little picture of a light, and that is for the lights that are located in the air conditioning unit. So at the moment they're off, and then they have different dimmer settings. Clock set just here, and then lastly the settings menu. So within this we have offset, which is just for the thermostat. If you don't think it's quite correct, this is the thermostat just here. You can slightly alter it. Ignore all the air conditioning set, etc. It's more for leave it at 0. Again, this is just for the thermostat. Again, leave this one on as well. This is for the air conditioning. It's for the auto control for it when it's in the automatic maintain function. Temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen, 12 or 24 hour clock. Language, index, again more for the workshop, it just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. From time to time, these control panels will throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively easy. For instance, if I now turn the heating back on for a moment, and then I turn this control panel off, it will throw up an error code because these control panels are linked. There we go. It's now giving us an error code letting us know that it's lost 12 volt because we've turned the 12 volt off. If I now turn the power back on again, the error code will then automatically disappear because I've rectified the problem. If you think you've rectified whatever problem it's told you it's got, and you can find out what the problems are either by looking in the manual or Googling it. If the error code still does not disappear, I always suggest then just double clicking on the little warning triangle. It will sometimes then just say no error and disappear. If that still doesn't work, if you still have anything running along the top here, just turn it off because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If that still doesn't work, I then always suggest the good old-fashioned turn it off and turn it back on again. And the way you do that is just by holding this button in until it says off. If you've done that and you still have a problem with it, I always then suggest doing the full factory reset, because a lot of the time it will then just sort the control panel out. This system can also be controlled via the Truma app. If you are going to use this, download the app onto your device and then make sure the Bluetooth is turned on and then launch it, and it will then firstly ask you to go to the iNet box. The iNet box in this particular model is located just above the microwave. It will ask you to press the Bluetooth button, which is located just here. The box will then send out the Bluetooth signal and then you will be able to connect up to it. Once you've connected, you will then be able to control the heating and the hot water locally via Bluetooth. You can, if you want to, also add a pay-as-you-go SIM card. The SIM card just goes in here where my finger is. You can register the SIM card then through the app, and then you can control your heating from much further afield. If I now come to the bench seat just here and remove the cushions, if I now lift up, we have the leisure battery just there. We then have the main 20 amp fuse for the 12 volt system just there. And then we have some more 12 volt fuses just here. And as you can see, they are all labelled up. And then more for components on the outside of the motorhome. Beside that, we have the main consumer unit. So we have the trip switches just here for the main supply. So we've got the 3 individual MCBs, then the main RCD and test button just here. They are all labelled up and they can be found in the Auto Sleeper handbook. So if something is not working on main supply, just come to check to see whether or not you've tripped inside the motorhome. We then have the rest of the 12 volt fuses just here, and again they are all numbered up and will correspond in the Auto Sleeper handbook. So if anything's not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. Along the top here we have two isolator switches for components that use mains electricity. So we have the amber one here for the heating and hot water system. So if I turn this off just here, and then we go back to the Truma control panel and try to run anything on main supply, we will get an error code because we've isolated it here to make sure it is turned on. We then have the green one here, which is for the battery charger. Again, we want this on when we're hooked up to main supply so we can charge both leisure and vehicle from the mains. This one will illuminate if we have reverse polarity connected to the motorhome. This can sometimes be found on some continental sites. Full system shutdown just here. So if you're not going to use the motorhome for some time, make sure you've pressed this and it will then shut down the back of the motorhome, killing any residual draw on the leisure battery. Also in here we have the drain valve for the Truma boiler itself. These particular drain valves are automatic, so if the temperature around this area drops below about 3-4 degrees, it will automatically open and drop any water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If you are going to manually drain it, firstly make sure that the water pump is turned off, and then twist this blue diamond, and this blue button here will pop out, and it will then throw all the water out of the boiler to drain it down. I always suggest that if you are fully winterizing the motorhome, that you also open up all of the taps. That way it will then release any airlocks in the system, so it will drain down much better. When it comes to re-priming the system back up again, close all the taps down, fill up the fresh water tank, make sure that the drain valve is shut again, and then turn the water pump back on again, and then let the pump run for a few minutes as it refills the boiler up, and then begin opening up the taps. They'll cough and splutter a little bit as they force the air out. Once they're then running freely on both hot and cold, then close, and then the system will fully reprime itself. If it is auto drained, all that will happen is the blue button will just pop out at the bottom, and to reset it, all you need to do is push it back in again. If it will not stay in, it's just too cold in the motorhome, and you will need to turn your heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. The only time we're touching the blue diamond is when we're manually draining the boiler down. This little device here is just the pressure switch for the water pump. If when you're closing the tap the pump is massively overrunning, you can slightly adjust it just here. Do not rapidly turn it, literally just tiny little turns if it is required. Underneath the other bench seat is storage that can also be got to from the outside. Avtex television just here. On and off the same as any TV. This is a travel TV, so it is running 12 volt just here. Because it is a travel TV, it does have a fast retune button, so as you change locations the television will need to be retuned in, and it's just done on this orange button just here. Just literally hold it and it will then take you straight back to the retune menu, and then just hit OK, and then it will then begin to tune itself back in. These televisions do have USB connectivity just on the top and a DVD player in the side as well. The television aerial is on the roof, and then the booster box for it is located in the wardrobe, on and off just underneath here, and then control the boost just on the dial just here. We then have the tabletop and table pole just there that can drop into the hole in the floor just here. And then we also have the freestanding table and some of the gas isolation taps just here. So the top one for the cooker, middle one for the fridge, and the bottom one for the heating and hot water system. They can all stay in the on position, and quite frankly there's no real need to turn them off. If you do smell gas, I would suggest going underneath the van, removing that plate, and then turning the gas off from there. Microwave just here. The isolator switch for it is just here. Do make sure that all contents are removed for travel. And then we have the normal quick start, stop just here. Power settings, wait time, defrost, twist for time, etc. Beneath that is the Thetford fridge, on and off just here. This is an automatic model, so as long as you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, it's automatically put us on to the mains. If I now went outside and pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and as soon as we start the engine of the motorhome, it will then go over to 12 volt maintain to keep itself cold whilst on the move. As you can see, the screen will disappear after a few seconds. Just tap the on off button to bring it back up again to see what it's doing. I can take it out of auto if I want to, so I can manually put it onto mains, manually put it onto 12 volt maintain. We are going to get an error code at the moment because the engine's not running, and I can manually put it onto gas. Temperature control just here, but automatic is the easiest option to have it on. And then back it off just by holding in just here. Hob, so we have the electric hot plate just here. This operates on this dial just here, and then we have the 3 gas burners, and that's just push in, twist and press the igniter. Beneath that we then have the grill, and again, same again. And then the oven. Beneath the oven we have storage, and there is a plug plugged in right at the very back there, which is for the hot plate. Safe just in this cupboard here. We then have the extractor fan, light on, fan on. The Huawei Motorhome Wi-Fi unit is located just here. If you are going to use this, you will need to insert the SIM card that can be found in the book pack. You have to just take this off and remove the back plate and then insert it. Once you've done that, turn the unit on and then it will display the Wi-Fi number. Look for the SIM card in your Wi-Fi settings on your device, connect up to it, pop in the number, and then you will be able to then pay the subscription and then get Wi-Fi to the motorhome. Washroom just here. So we have the basin just here. This pulls across and then the shower screen then comes across to make the shower cubicle. Do make sure that the shower screen is fully clipped back for travel. We then have the cassette toilet just here. So to open to the cassette, just slide the grey lever across. Push the flush on the top just here. Level indicator just down here, so this will rotate round to red when it needs emptying. And then close the cassette back up again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody's left this open. The beds are nice and simple in this particular model. You can either have two singles or a double. If you're going to use single beds, you need to make sure that both seats are rotated round as they are at the moment. And the way they rotate round is just by pushing down on the red lever just here. For the singles, all you need to do is just slightly move the slats out. I personally drop the back cushion in like so, because that way you're then not sleeping up against the wall, and then it's just a matter of manoeuvring the seat into the correct position and getting the height correct. The height can be adjusted on the levers just here. And there you have it, two single beds, and it still gives you plenty of room to walk down the centre. If you're going to have a double bed, it couldn't be any simpler. It's just a matter of making the slats meet up, and then it's just a matter of dropping the cushions into place. And then you have a nice, good sized double bed.